Good evening, good evening, good evening. Sorry I'm late. I've been having like the most difficulties with the live streams for some reason. Um, oops, not good. Thank you for whoever is joining me right now. Every time I go to try to go live on YouTube, it keeps telling me I don't have permission to go live to do a stream on my phone. And when I try to do it from my MacBook, it tells me something about I don't have permission to download some kind of streaming program to proceed. But when I log onto my HP computer, it lets me do it, but it doesn't let me pick up from the scheduled stream that I already have saved. So I just don't understand. But good evening, good evening, good evening. Happy weekend. Hope all is well. It's another wine and FaceTime. Black History Month is coming in a matter of days. February will be here before you know it. In February, as we all know, we all celebrate Black History Month. Cheers, 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 cheers. I have so much to talk about regarding Black History Month. But first and foremost, before I get all deep in the sauce and the juice, if you are new, please like and subscribe. Please hit the bell for notifications. You can see when I'm going live. It's always on Saturday evenings. I think I'm going to probably make this stream even later because 7 was too early. 8 seems to be too early. So this stream may even get later. It may end up starting at 9 over 8 o'clock. But, I'm going to really, really think about it. But please like and subscribe, as I said, to my channel. Really, really appreciate it. So happy for the 14 lovely subscribers I have. I feel that's special and unique because I was born on the 14th day of May. So I'm going to take it for what it is. Here's my first sip. Okay, boom. Black History Month. February, the shortest month of all 12 months we have in the calendar year. We always hear about specific politicians, leaders, activists, celebrities, singers, movie stars, consistently over many decades when it comes to Black History Month. There's a lot of Black people that we don't hear about. There's a lot of Black people that we don't see or read about in movies and stories, in history and culture and education. There's a lot of people that, just are omitted from the entire history in the text, and we just don't acknowledge them. We don't know much about them, but they're just as powerful and important and knowledgeable and, righteous and dope as everyone else. So that's one of my main things. Why is it that, in America or in the world, period, we only specifically celebrate and acknowledge and, praise certain Black historians, inventors, singers, writers, actors? Why is it only a specific certain group? Why is it not the people that we don't hear about all the time? Why is it not the people that we don't know about? Why are we not more educated? Why is this information somewhat missing from our text in education, in scholars, and news, and all other areas? Why is the information just loosely, where it appears, and that's it? I definitely have an issue with that because you grow up and you go to school and you go to college and you pick up trades. And again, it's the same specific politicians, activists, leaders, singers, authors, writers, poets, entrepreneurs we hear about all the time. There's so many more who have done more or have done the same or something more unique that we don't hear about at all. And it's like, why is that? A lot of people don't have an answer for that. So if you're just chiming in, this is Kishal Fit here on another Wine and FaceTime talking about Black History Month. Black History Month will be here in a matter of days. It'll be February. February is our shortest month of the entire calendar year, and we don't get enough time to acknowledge, praise, do research, understand, and learn more about the ancestors. We specifically hear about a specific main few all the time. And from the top of my head, I can name those few. It's Martin Luther King, it's Rosa Parks, it's Malcolm X, it's Adam Clayton Powell, it's Frederick Douglass, it's, who else? I have a list here as well. Who else do we have here? The main ones we read about in school and plays and histories and movies, it's that certain group, it's never an elite extended, names, and that's like the weirdest part because it's like, again, why? We know these are not the only powerful black people in history. We do know that. We know these are not the only black people in history that did something that was powerful. We know these are not the only black people in history that died for a reason. We know these are not the only black people that were bold and vivacious and courageous and fearless. We know it's not just these specific people. And there are a lot of other people I'm probably missing as well, but you get the gist of it. If you went to a city school, or you lived in a city area, or if you lived in a minority area, if you grew up in America, chances are you've only heard about the specific handful I've mentioned. You only heard about the specific handful of white people or white activist leaders, singers, authors, actors as well that actually took time to jump in with these people, to make change, such as JFK and other presidents. But again, we go back to it, just those same exact political leaders, activists, singers, authors, inventors, politicians, and presidents. No one else. I say all this to say because again, February is coming, so it's going to be a flood of African American movies. It's going to be a flood of history coming through the TV. It's going to be a flood of history coming through social media, news, politics, films. These apps such as Hulu, Amazon, Netflix, Disney Plus. There's going to be a stream and a real big surge of African culture and African rights and African history and African, stories and African activists. There's going to be a whole bunch of that coming out real soon, and it's going to be really, really short lived because as soon as February is over, it's going to poof, poof back into the thin air. So again, getting to learn our culture, know our culture, appreciate our culture, know more than what we just always hear about from birth in elementary school to adulthood. So again, why is it that we only hear about those so few? Pretty sure a lot of people doesn't have don't have answers for that. At the end of the day, we see all of these exposed files, exposed cases, classified information, facts coming to life as the 21st and 22nd century as we see approaching, and it's like all this information was not loosely given before. We're hearing more things and theories and conspiracy theories and facts about situations such as Seneca Falls. A lot of people don't know what Seneca Falls is. But if I said Central Park, people know what Central Park is. And we walk through Central Park. We go to ride the horses. We go for picnics, for workouts, to dine, eat restaurants, all that stuff in Central Park. But a lot of people don't know the history before Central Park was Central Park. Before Central Park was something else. And it had a lot to do with black culture, black history, black families, black people, black pride, wisdom, knowledge, prestige, a connection, a unity, a bond, a support system, a circle of black dollars in the black environment. It was so much more than Central Park as we see it now. And granted, now, 2022, there are a lot of dedications and notifications and memories and homage paid to African American culture and people that were demised there. Still, a lot of people don't know anything about the culture. For me specifically, I'm so embarrassed to be so old and just realizing certain cultural things that I felt I should have learned about in school. I should have read about in high school, junior high school, elementary school, that I did not realize, that I did not read about, that I did not participate in, that I had no common knowledge about at all. Not that my parents told me anything else. And that kind of bothers me to know like that our history is just that butchered, that if I feel this way, someone else feels this way, and someone else feels this way. There's a lot of us that feel this way, which means a lot of us went through this experience of not having this knowledge. So I say all that to say, why is that? Why does it seem like the African American history and culture's roots and everything that goes along with it? Why does it seem so vague? Why does it seem so many gaps in history? Why does it seem like there's so many loose ends and question marks and pieces that don't fit to a puzzle the perfect way? But every other culture, they have their unity. They have that homeland to go to. They have that culture that they stick by. They have those roots that they can follow. Puerto Ricans can go to Puerto Rico. Haitians go to Haiti. Dominicans go to DR. African Americans cannot go to Africa. That is not where our roots are unconditionally and futuristically and going back to longevity and beliefs. We're like the only race that doesn't have its dominant place to go back to or know its roots or culture. And all those stem into so many other things that we see present day 2022, 2021. And that's crazy because at the end of the day, it has a lot to do with how the culture itself, responds to certain situations, triggers that we may have, et cetera, et cetera. But I'm not here to talk about the traumas and tribulations and, all the negatives that's happened in Black history and Black culture, but just a question why we don't know much more about our culture. Why does it seem we have so many question marks and gaps in our culture that we can't explain, that we don't understand, that just seems just to not add up and make no sense at all? Why is that? Why does every other culture feel like they have that? Why does it seem like every other culture does have that? They have a home to go back to if they don't want to be in America. They have a culture to stick to, that keeps them sane. They have roots that they can trace, through generational lines. I feel like African American culture, we're the only culture that don't really have that. We're so segregated and divided because of so many systemic things that's happened to us, from generation to generation. From my mother to her mother to her mother to her mother, all those things those people went through. But again, we're not the only culture that went through things. All cultures went through things. So I'm not saying that we're the most superior culture or the most dominant culture, but we definitely are the most suppressed culture, the culture that's been through the most for the longest and just seems to not be able to rise to other cultures or other ethnic groups for some reason. And that's a stress because I'm a part of the African American culture. So of course that impacts me. So when you see yourself living in America, whether you're living the American dream or not, and you have the credentials to do all the jobs and opportunities, you should be abided because you have all the proper tools and resources to get it, and you can't get it, and it's going to go to a counterpart who's not your skin tone, because how America is set up, it can be frustrating. A lot of people don't believe that's real. I believe that's real, but to each his own. I'm not here to, manipulate anyone or start any negativity. Before whatever the case is, this is my platform to share my opinions the way I see fit about how I feel and enjoy. Enjoy. I will enjoy the conversation for other people to comment, opinionate on what they feel or don't feel, but at the end of the day, I'm a part of the culture. I'm an African American woman living in New York City, and I've lived here my entire life. Um, my mom's lived here for her entire life, for the most part, as far as I know, whether in New York or New Jersey. My mom's mom lived in North Carolina in the beginning of her childhood. Her mother's mother, I'm not really sure where her roots come from. My grandfather, I know they're from California, his roots. Beyond my grandfather, I don't know much about his roots. And on my father's side, I don't really know much about my father's roots. My father's mother's still alive, and I know she was originally born in Harlem, New York, or DC or something like that. But that's the most extensive history I have from my own culture within my bloodline to know where everyone is from. My father's side of the family does something great where they do, keep a family tree of all the grandchildren, married family members, et cetera, just to keep the tradition going of, who's who and who's whose child, et cetera, et cetera. That's cool, but at the end of the day, a lot of us are doing ancestry DNA. Some of us are doing 23andMe. I'm really intrigued and interested to do one of those as well because I know my parents are my parents, but we all want to know our DNA, our culture, what we're really made of. What's our entire 100% body made of? Down to every slither percentages of everything they have to say that we're made of. We all are curious to know like what does the DNA say? Where does the most majority of my good evening, Jose. Where's the majority of my roots and culture and ancestry come from? Because everyone we know is mixed. No one in America is a pure 100% American person. Everyone is mixed with something. You're either Puerto Rican, Dominican, Haitian, Jamaican, Caribbean, West Indian, um, you can be, anything, so no one is 100% one thing. We're all mixed with something, we all have a little bit of something in us, and that's why people are doing those tests such as Ancestry, DNA, and 23andMe, because people are more intrigued to want to know their roots outside of knowing that their mother is and father are Black or their grandparents may be half Irish. People are really curious to know nowadays What am I all made up of? Where do I really come from? Because some of us don't have the opportunity to have a mother and father or grandmother and grandfathers to get the history from. Some of us don't grow up with our parents so you know where we really come from. Some of us actually grow up, with different family members. So it can be a hard task to find out, who you really are. And if you don't have a relationship with your family, that can be even harder because you don't have anyone to contact to ask these questions. You may need to know to try to find out who you are, where your history comes from, what your culture really means. So all of that can be a lot for someone who wants to know that information, who may be intrigued by that information, that may want to understand their culture better, that may want to understand, why in 2020 our culture and society still seems so segregated and not together. It's a lot going on in the world and we're all handling it differently and we're all dealing with things the best we can because we all have different trauma triggers and we all just do the best we can to make it another day. And that's just the whole fact of that. So I'm going to take another sip. In addition to that, I find it really interesting to know that I heard on the news that Holocaust members were currently awarded a stimulus check for the rest of their lives for being surviving members of the Holocaust. And I was really, really interested and like felt some way honestly about hearing that information because I'm really happy and grateful for them to be able to, have that. Of course, great. Good for you. But what about all of the African American people that have been enslaved and are still enslaved and who's been through the worst, for their entire generational lifeline? What about those people? They said African Americans helped build the White House, and so many other more credential public buildings that are in existence today. Like, why is it that African American people haven't been given their 40 acres and a mule? Why is it that African American people still haven't received reparations? Why does it seem like African American people are still a part of the dominant race, are still at the bottom of the barrel when it comes to, getting jobs that are to the equal partners such as Caucasian Americans? Why does it seem like we just can't get it together to be one united culture, to stay strong, to move in a purpose together, to, progress? There's so many answers and so many questions and reasons to all those responses. And at the end of the day, it's like, it's sad. It has a lot to do, in my opinion, with us really not being able to say we know our roots, where we come from, feeling like we got representation or, anything for anything our ancestors went through, as far as a positive thing. And as a result, some of our people, my people, African Americans, we just act out. It's just the best way to release that anger and frustration, anxiety, and stress because some of us are just tired of doing the right thing and still suffering. And again, I don't want to go into all the systemics about all the African American people that have been killed and murdered and slaved throughout the last years and so on, because at this point, honestly, although it's sad, and I think the African American culture, we're just used to hearing these sad stories now. It's not even a surprise anymore when you're hearing a black woman or a black man or a black child, whether it's a boy or girl, who's being murdered or killed in the streets on the news or on a live stream. Like, it's just that bad to the point where it's like your heart doesn't even skip a beat anymore. You don't even shed a tear anymore. You don't even shake your head anymore because at this point it's like we're so used to being abused, not getting justice, not getting answers, not being helped, not feeling sorry for, not anyone caring, to the point where it's just like any day it could be any of us, no matter how smart we are, no matter what kind of accreditations we have, no matter what kind of positions we have, no matter if we're political people, no matter if we are people, in the film industry, no matter what your status, if you're African American, it's like you better use your status the best you can to keep what you want. Yeah, this country definitely has an issue with people that are different, and it's sad that people who don't want to be different, and they are different. They just try to make it doing the things that other people do. They still don't get it. I have a full master's degree. I have a bachelor's degree. I have an associate's degree. I have over 6 years healthcare experience, over 6 years law enforcement experience, and I am still gambling and competing with the best of them, the millennials and everyone else, and I feel like I shouldn't. I feel like with the credentials experience I have, Being an American citizen, being born and raised here, my entire family being raised here, you would think that that would give me some precedent over someone who just came here illegally or on a visa. But still, I'm competing with even those people for positions that I feel should be almost owed to me. But some people may feel like that's cocky of me to say. Some people that may be wrong of me to say. But my opinion is my opinion, and everyone has their own opinion, and we speak how we feel, and that's just that. But at the end of the day, I do now acknowledge that what's for me is for me. No one can take what's for me. But to be back on topic and discussion about, Black History Month is coming up. And there's so much we just don't know about our culture. Again, going back to Seneca Falls, aka Central Park, I was embarrassed and ashamed to not know as a 39-year-old woman that Central Park used to be called Seneca Falls, a place where that was all black owned, and black people live. There were hospitals, schools, stores, buildings, apartments, parks. It was an entire culture for a black community where the black dollar circulated and black people thrived. And it was all black, nothing else, everything. And all of those black people were chased out of Seneca Falls to death by guns, pitchforks, knives, fire, whatever you can say it. They were all kicked out. Babies were burned, killed, old people, young people, wives, pregnant mothers. The entire city was almost burnt down just to be rebuilt, to be taken over by Caucasian Americans and renamed Central Park. But so what we do know, there is a lot of recognition, acknowledgments, dedications inside of Central Park to these black lawyers, doctors, activists, singers, surgeons, nurses who were murdered and slayed there, paying homage to them. But I still feel, why did I not read about that in elementary school textbooks, junior high school textbooks, college textbooks? Why did I never see a news article about it? Why was there never a film about it? But yet I can constantly see the color purple every Black History Month. I can constantly see Purple Rain every Black History Month. I can constantly see Roots every Black History Month. I can see the Django every Black History Month. I can see the Butler every Black History Month. I can see about these three women that helped NASA go into space and ship shuttles into outer space. These three women, I forget the name of the movie. It comes on every day, almost now, but it's about the real life Dorothy Vaughan, Captain G. Johnson, and Mary Jackson, and all three of these women help pretty much NASA shoot into space, shoot into orbit, go to moons, help them with their technology, help them sophisticated, perfected to the point where Apollo 11, 13, so forth, all those missions were successful because of these three black women who took forever to get their reparation and their credit for doing the things they did. They all, I think, just died recently in 2021 or 2022, and they were in their late 90s. And they finally made major acknowledgement, I believe, in not the Hall of Fame, but something big on that level where, they're going up in history. And it's like, wow, their entire lifespan they were not given what they were needed until the very end. They're in the Hall of Fame, I think, or something like that. And it's like, wow, through segregation, racism, slavery, they did all of that. And they just got their fruits of their labors at their death. But I say all that to say, what happened to the black history? What happened to the black culture? What happened to the black roots? What happened to the black people? What happened to the black land? We have learned that black people, African Americans, we were not born and raised in Africa. We did not come from Africa. Where is our home? Puerto Ricans have Puerto Rico. Dominicans have Dominican Republic. Haitians have Haiti. Alaskans have Alaskans. Hawaii, where did we come from? West Indians have the Caribbean islands and the Virgin Islands. Where did we come from? Where are our real roots? This is why so many African Americans are doing things like ancestry, DNA, and 23andMe, because our history and culture is so shattered and gap, we don't know where it is. And because of that, some of us cannot just be connected and united because we're just so angry because of that alone. Plus, always being at the bottom, always being the most hated culture, the most rooted culture, the most systemic culture, the culture that just can't get it right, can't get good unless you're an actor or a rapper or a singer. That's kind of what we've been cooped into that barrel, which really does suck. At the end of the day, I feel like people like me, we try our best to break generational curses, from the inside of the house home all the way out, from how we think, how we educate, how we understand, and we try to do better, but one person can't do it all. So it's frustrating. It's really, really frustrating. Again, the shortest month of the entire academic calendar year, Black History Month, 28 days, sometimes less than 28 days, maybe sometimes 29 days. What we really learn in school and church and education and everything is really not what it really is. It's a lot of information missing, lacking, for sure, for sure. And it's like a lot of kids are gonna just really grow up not giving a F about, culture and this black history and so many other things because the information is just not there. Exactly, being deprived exactly of their culture, their history, and their identity. And yet we're still raising, and bringing more and more children in the world of that, descent and culture. And it's like, what happens? What do you do? We have people that, want to identify, and they're biracial, want to identify with more on one side, such as the Caucasian side or the Latina side or the Hawaiian side or whatever other side that's, not the black side. We have that population of people. Then we have the population of people that, they just go for the things that they know black people are supposed to do. We're supposed to play basketball. We're supposed to be able to cook. We're supposed to be able to do hair. We're supposed to be able to do, those household, natural runaway things. So at the end of the day, I just wish and hope that, the culture, the people, our identity, our roots, our lifestyle, everything that comes with it. Hope at some point, we can become united, we can become together, we can be stronger, we can be powerful, we can educate ourselves and, find information the best way we can. And it can be in school textbooks. It can be in a part of college, text and a curriculum. It can be updated as it should be. Like the truth can finally be out. Just the way so many other truths are finally coming out that were held in secret from decades ago, such as the things we're now learning now. Again, it's just so crazy. I have all these little notes in my back in my notebook that I'm looking at right now, and I don't want to disrespect or say anything to seem naive or immature or negative, but to be African American woman in America, with the credentials I have, the job experiences I've had, and through the trauma and triggers and lifestyle changes I've been through, and the environments I've been through, and the places I've been around, and seeing the many things I've seen, I feel this is really real. This is a really real thing, and you have to go through it to understand it, but at the end of the day, some people are luckier than others, some people aren't, some people luck doesn't don't some people feel like luck doesn't exist. Some people feel like luck does. But at the end of the day, we all have a different opinion and viewpoint on how we choose to, handle situations and use our mindset to be stronger and better and more proactive and productive about things. And sometimes that works for us. Sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes we go to what we know best: smoking, drinking, fighting, video games, traveling, doing something and obsess, to dilute or forget about what's really going on in the background. There could be so many things, but one takeaway I want to leave with tonight, because I'm going to end this live right now, is Black history is more than the people we see in the movies. It's more than Purple Rain, the Django, Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, Rosa Parks. It's more than slavery. It's so much more. And I think it's about time that, we do get some reparations, 40 acres and a mule, whatever you want to call it, stimulus check, sorry, a free way to move out and move on from America and live free, whatever you want to call it, whatever the government wants to do, whatever the culture can do, whatever our people can do as one. It's about time we get that so we can move on and uplift ourselves and be better and be stronger, be more powerful, be more resilient, and really stop feeling so suppressed. Because systemically you can feel it from generation to generation to generation to generation. I don't want my kids growing up feeling this way. I have two daughters, and one is 23 and one is about to be 13. And, they don't need to feel this. I don't need to feel this. My mother didn't need to feel this. My grandmother needs to feel this. but they all felt it. And whether I lived in slavery and picked cotton, or lived in a plantation, or was a field nigga, or a house nigga, or whatever you want to call it, or I feel all of that to this day as if I existed in that time, and I never did. I was born in 1982, but as a Black African American woman in the United States of America, living in poverty most of my life, or living in minority areas and having minority jobs, or not getting paid what I felt I deserved, having credentials to do those jobs I was never given the opportunity to. I feel in my blood and my skin and my body and my bones those generational curses. And I know a lot of people don't believe in generational curses. You can call it what you want to call it, but at the end of the day, you would have to be in my skin to know what I mean. So, hope everyone has a great night. Have a good evening. Be safe out here with this Omicron virus, Delta virus, Mu virus, COVID-19. Still wash them hands, sanitize, do everything you can do to protect yourself, your workstation, your work area, wherever you are. Same for your kids, get you a cleaning routine in your house, make you feel good about being home. As far as the interaction in your house, people coming in and out your house and feeling like you have a clean, safe, house. Do whatever you gotta do. I'm good with the Lysol. I'm great with the ammonia. I do it 2 to 3 times a week because it makes me feel better. So have a good night, Jose. Take care. Peace out, y'all. Thanks for joining me on Wine and FaceTime. That's it for the evening. You want to catch up with this conversation and continue talking to me? We can definitely do this on Instagram Live. I am 23 minutes late, but I will definitely be there soon. Have a good evening.